The airport shimmered beneath the soft golden light of dawn, the kind of morning that smelled like fresh coffee, hope, and goodbyes. Amelia Clark clutched her boarding pass between trembling fingers, her heart beating faster than the announcements echoing through the terminal. Today wasn't just another trip, it was her chance to start again. After months of heartbreak, losing her job, and watching her dreams crumble, she was flying to San Francisco for an interview that could change her life. She wore a simple beige coat, her hair loosely tied back, eyes tired but kind. The line at gate 24 moved slowly, passengers impatient, children crying, people scrolling endlessly on their phones. Just behind her, she heard the faint sound of a baby whimpering. Turning slightly, she saw a man, tall, in his early 30s perhaps, trying desperately to calm a little girl who couldn't have been older than 2. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his sharp blue eyes and a suit wrinkled from what seemed like days of travel. The baby tugged at his collar, fussing, her soft curls bouncing with every movement. "Shoo, Emma, we're almost there," he whispered, voice low and weary. Something about that moment tugged at Amelia's heart. Maybe it was the way his hand gently brushed the child's cheek, or the quiet desperation in his eyes. When the airline staff called final boarding, chaos unfolded. The man fumbled through his bag, realizing with horror that he'd booked the wrong ticket. The flight was full, and there was no seat left for him and his daughter. The attendant shook her head politely. "I'm sorry, sir, there's nothing we can do." The man's shoulders slumped. Amelia glanced down at her own ticket, then back at him, her chest tightening with a strange mix of empathy and impulse. Before she could stop herself, she stepped forward and said, "He can take mine." The staff froze. The man looked at her as if he hadn't heard right. "What?" he asked, voice rough. Amelia smiled faintly. "Take my ticket. You and your daughter need it more than I do." The attendant blinked, unsure, but after a moment nodded and made the change. The man seemed speechless, his jaw tight, eyes wide with disbelief. You don't have to do that," he said softly. "I know," she replied, smiling warmly. "But sometimes kindness costs less than regret." He opened his mouth to argue, but the announcement blared, "Final call." He hesitated, then took the ticket, his gaze locking onto hers for one long, grateful second. "Thank you," he said simply. She waved it off, but as he carried his daughter through the gate, Amelia felt an odd ache in her chest, like she'd just let something important slip away. When the plane door closed, she sighed and sat down on a nearby bench, unaware that cameras around the gate had quietly captured the entire exchange, a stranger giving up her seat so a father and child could fly. Hours later, when Amelia finally got rebooked on the next flight, she dozed off midair, unaware that the man she'd helped, Alexander Reed, CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the country, couldn't stop thinking about her. He had seen people chase him for money, fame, and power, but no one had ever done something so selfless for him without knowing who he was. When his jet landed in San Francisco, reporters and employees awaited his arrival, but his mind stayed at gate 24, where a woman with tired eyes and a kind smile had given up her chance for his. That night, Amelia arrived at her cheap motel, weary but strangely content. Her phone buzzed endlessly, notifications from a video going viral, woman gives up flight seat for struggling dad and baby. Her name wasn't mentioned, but her face was. She covered her mouth, half laughing, half panicking. "Oh no," she whispered. But deep inside, she didn't know that her act of kindness was about to change her destiny forever, because the next morning, an invitation would arrive in her email from Reed Technologies, offering her a position she'd never even applied for.